Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another video, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about a game called Wuthering Waves that somewhat recently came out. I've been playing this game quite a bit since launch, and so I kind of wanted to just do like an impressions video of this game, talk about kind of what I like about it, maybe what I don't like about it, if I think this game is maybe worth playing for people that are maybe interested in it, who maybe haven't played it, or maybe heard some things about it and weren't sure whether to play it or not, right? So for those of you completely unfamiliar with the game, this game is essentially a Genshin Impact clone, is what it is. It is not made by MiHoYo, it is made by Kuro Games, so it's a different company or whatever. And so what I think this game does, and some things I think that I like about it, so you could say it's almost a negative that it's a Genshin clone because it copies like a lot of it, almost maybe too much of it to some degree. But at the same time, it made me very comfortable with the game immediately in terms of just some of the interface, the systems for awakening characters, looking at the characters basically like the equivalent of like their traces and all of that. It's all very similar to Genshin and Star Rail, right? So that's one thing about it. The other thing is I think what this game does is they very intentionally, I think, built the game like Genshin, but then they're trying to fix a lot of the problems Genshin has. And I think that's really what the goal of the game is they're trying to listen to player feedback from Genshin and then try to make those improvements that in places where maybe Genshin has refused to make improvements, right? Which I actually think is pretty good. But in terms of everything else, it's going to be very similar in terms of open world exploration, the Breath of the Wild thing where you can just climb everywhere, whatever. It's got the stamina system, all of that. Anime characters. A couple of things I would say is that I would say this game has maybe a slightly darker tone than Genshin. Feels maybe a little bit more adultish, which I kind of like. It has a lot, I think, maybe darker enemies, some darker themes to it, things like that. So I kind of like that. I think that's kind of interesting. What I'm going to talk about, and here, let me just jump in and show you kind of like my account so you guys can kind of see where I'm at and kind of what's going on. I do want to show you guys a little bit of gameplay and talk about some of the systems I like about the game. So while it does copy Genshin a lot, it does have some things that are unique to it that I do really like as well, right? So let's go in here. So if we look at my character profile, and by the way, my ID is right here. It's probably hard to see, but my ID is there on the board. If you want to zoom in and copy it, if you want to become my friend, you can feel free to do that. But you can see my SOL phase is rank 4, and then my union level is 38. So, that's kind of where I am in terms of progress. So I'm not at the point where I can fully max characters yet. Right now, my character cap is level 60. I think I have to increase. I think once I hit union level 40, I'll get another 10 levels on everybody. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Characters here are called resonators. And right now, this is the team I'm using. I'm using Yinlin, Genshin, and Verena. A lot of people would agree Verena's one of the best characters in the game, easily the best healer. Yinlin's probably the best DPS in the game right now, although it's very early in the game. And Genshin, I think, is just a very underrated character. I actually really like her. She's completely my style because she generates shields, and I like her playstyle. She's very, very good that way, right? In terms of, I guess we'll start because I'm on the character screen. We can talk about like kind of character development and kind of talk about maybe some similarities and differences, right? So this game, characters do equip weapons. So this is directly like Genshin. You've got 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star weapons. All the parallels are there. This game just has different weapon types, which is kind of refreshing, right? So Genshin, the ranged damage dealers are all bow users. And here, they actually have guns. So they have guns in this game. And then we have like claws, or essentially like gauntlets, right? So we've got melee damage that way with claws. And then we have, I don't know if we'd call them like puppets or whatever. I mean, Yinlin directly is like kind of a puppeteer. But she's the equivalent of like the magic users. And they kind of use these kind of floating disc things, right? And Yinlin specifically is a lot like a puppet and like throwing out strings and stuff. But that's kind of like what the magic users are like, right? So this is another fist user, gun user. We have traditional sword users. So we've got normal swords. And then we also have heavy sword users. So like she would be like a claymore user. So those are just like what you'd have in Genshin. And I think that's pretty much all the weapon types currently in the game. Yeah, I think that's it. Yep. So kind of interesting to have kind of like the puppet string weapon, and then to have like the guns, I think is kind of cool. And I like actually having like the fist users as well. I think is pretty cool. So like this character is like a monk, and I really like her playstyle and how she operates, right? So what this game has is, instead of relics, so this is the equivalent of like their relic or artifact system, is they have echoes. And what's kind of unique about this, you'll see the echoes are set up very similarly to relics, right? Where they have a main stat. In this game, they actually get like two main stats. And then you get random substats that you can get, right? So, and then you have like the echo skill, which is if you do like the set pieces, right? So this game, what they have is you can get bonuses for having sets of 2 or a set of 5. So you either have to fully commit to one set, or you could do 2 sets, and then you'd have a free spot that you could put any set, but that maybe you like the stats on, right? So in terms of, comparing to artifacts and relics, that part's going to feel very familiar. But what's unique about it is the relic or artifacts here, these echoes, they're actually like character echoes. So this kind of reminds me of like some of the Nintendo DS Castlevania games, where like you kill enemies and you like absorb their echoes or their souls, is what it was on Castlevania. And then you get skills. So what's cool about this is you can still farm these through like a domain, right? And use your resin or whatever, your resin equivalent. But you can also just get these out in the wild. So what I kind of like about it is you can kind of farm these out in the wild for free just by killing enemies. You don't have to do like domains. So I do kind of like that. And then the other thing that's kind of unique about it is, instead of having like a headpiece, an arm piece, a leg piece, whatever, you can just equip any 5 you want, but you have to stay within a cost. So the echoes, they have a 4 cost, a 3 cost, and a 1 cost. And at the point I'm at right now, the max cost you can have is 12. Now that cost may increase in the future as I level up more. But at, 12 cost, I think the general idea is you would do like a 4-piece, 2 3s, and 2 1s. But right now, example, on this character, I have a 4, 2 4s, a 3, and a 1, and I just have an empty slot, but I'm using all of my cost. The other thing is you can't repeat the same enemy more than once. So it's a balance of, you got to find the right enemies, get the right stats you want, mix and match. So, in terms of like relic and artifacts, I would say it still feels fairly similar to Star Rail and Genshin. But the one plus I like on Wuthering Waves is you can grind them for free without using stamina, which I kind of like, right? So this would be a typical build here. I've got a 4 3, 2 3s, a 4, and then 2 1s. So I'm going to learn that more as I play the game more, but you kind of figure out what sets you want, what bonuses you want, what stats are good on characters, right? So that's kind of the ecosystem. This part here would be like the traces on Star Rail. It's been so long since I played Genshin, I don't remember what the equivalent of traces are called. But yeah, this is where you have to grind domains to get the trace materials, and then you basically want to grind those up to get more stats. So right now, I'm not able to fully unlock these yet. I've got to level up my characters more, but that's pretty standard. That's pretty standard Genshin Star Rail type of setup there. And then here you would have the equivalent of like your Eidolons or your constellations, right? This is for getting character dupes. So like my Yinlin, I've got 1 dupe there, right? So that's just, you can see there that the character setup very similar. But the ecosystem, I think, is the really unique thing they're bringing forward here, is they're adding that extra element to like these random enemies you can kill can actually give you like the stats and stuff you want on the character, which I think is pretty cool, right? So that's kind of the base of like the character stuff. Now, some things that I really like that this game does to improve from Genshin, these may seem like small things, but they're like a really huge deal, right? So I'm just going to warp somewhere on the map. Let's just warp out here where there potentially will be enemies and stuff. So the one thing is just like, if I am running around, you'll notice with running, it does not consume stamina, and you'll actually see my stamina bar actually increases while I'm running. The only things that cost stamina are like swimming, climbing, and then like the initial dash on a run, because that also equates to a dodge. And I do like the dodging on this game too. It does like a slow-mo dodge, but the travel is just so much faster. And what's great about it is when you climb, you can actually wall run, which is awesome. So it makes the climbing so fast. So you see as I climb here, she will literally just like wall run up here. So we'll just go up here again. And you can see you just run and you can get up the cliffs very quickly. Okay. So you can see super fast. The other thing that I like about it too is you can still take damage from falling too far, but the deaths you take are a lot less on here because I've run out of stamina while wall running before, and the character will actually like grip the wall and like slowly slide down, so you don't just insta die. So I think just the travel and the stamina mechanic I like so much more. You obviously have where you can like float and do this stuff as well, right? But the other thing you're going to notice about a lot of the mountains and hills, here, I'll just do a quick little battle and kill some guys here. And we'll talk about the battle system more in a minute. But here, I just killed a guy. Now this is an echo, so I can absorb that, right? And that's like a free artifact or relic I just picked up. And I didn't have to use stamina for that, right? And so I can just do that. But what you'll notice along most mountains and cliffs, they do make them like kind of jaggedy so that there's usually like a rest point somewhere up in between where like it'll stop. So like right here, you can see there's like a rest point. I can stop if I run out of stamina and I can finish climbing. I think that's quite intentional that they build a lot of the cliffs and stuff. I've really never had a problem getting up any of the cliffs because if they're too long to make it up, they usually have some type of flattened rest stop somewhere in the cliff. You'll notice, like if I look out here and you look at like all of these cliffs, like they're fairly jaggedy and you can see there's plenty of places I could stop. Everything, they make it pretty convenient to climb and wall run everything. So I think the climbing feels a lot less tedious. Just the overworld running around feels less tedious because you can constantly run and you gain stamina. So that is one big thing that I really like. The other thing that you'll notice is when I killed those enemies, there were no drops. So what it is, the enemies do drop stuff, but you don't have to pick them up. So the only thing you actually have to loot on this game are just like the flowers or like the world items that you're picking up. But like if I kill, say, like an animal for meat or I kill enemies, like I just get all the drops automatically. I don't have to pick them up. I know that seems like a small thing, but it is like a really nice perk to not have to worry about picking everything up. The other oh shoot, I'm trying to fly somewhere I can't go. So sorry, I wanted to show you guys those cliffs there, but I can't go that way. So get away from that. The other thing you can do is like while you're floating, what's really nice is you can do one mid-air dash like this and you can actually gain height. So while you're floating down, one time you can gain height on your float. So here's an example. We'll just plunge down here. An example of something I haven't unlocked yet. So this should have some enemies to kill. So yeah, we'll go ahead and start killing these guys. The echo you equip too, you have one main echo, right? What I did right there was an attack of one of the echoes. So one of the monsters that you equip, you actually get an attack with it, which can be quite powerful. There's another free echo we just got there, right? The other thing this game does in battle that's unique is it has intros and outros. So you'll notice that my two other characters are kind of lit up. That means I have my intro, outro active. So if I switch characters, they enter with a powerful attack and I can just go right in. And you can see on that small battle, I got 2 more echoes. So it's not even like the echoes are rare either. Like I'm getting a lot of echoes just like out in fighting. So up until this point, I haven't even gotten to the point of like using stamina to do domains. And part of that is I'm waiting till I can get the 5 stars, which I just got to the point where I can start getting 5-star echoes, right? So that's an equivalent of kind of like a treasure chest for killing a group of enemies. A lot of that stuff is similar. Like on the map, you can find treasure, you can find things like that where they're just enemies locking it down and then you kill them and you get the item. There is actually a really cool item that they give you in this game. And I have to figure out how do I'm used to, so right now, just so you guys know, if you're thinking of like game performance and things like that, I am using my phone right now, but I typically play this game on my PC. The issue is that I have a different gaming PC that isn't hooked up to my OBS and my, my webcam and stuff. So that's why, like, as I'm like recording a video, I have to use my phone because that's the only way I have it properly set up. But on the phone, I know how to do this a lot easier. But there's actually, is it under utilities? Yeah, so there's actually this item here. This loot mapper that you can use. You can actually drop this down anywhere you're standing and it will show you if there's treasure nearby. So what's really cool about the loot mapper is it gives you a way to always search out treasure. Now I know Genshin has added stuff like this, but some of them have been like, at least when I played, they were locked to certain regions, right? And you didn't get them right away. This you just always have and can use it anywhere you want to help you find treasure, which I think is actually pretty cool. Okay. Now I'll get into another battle, but what I like about this game's battle is it feels a little bit more unique than Genshin. Like, all the characters feel very unique to play because they have different play styles and actually have different like button combos that you press to do different things, and different abilities on. There's like a meter, so if you guys can kind of look at like the bottom, like, so if you see my character there, right underneath her you see that green bar that's kind of filling up. That's a meter that every character has. You can see Yinlin's got a purple meter. Verina's got like a yellow meter. That also relates to like their element, right? Is the color. So that meter underneath, and you'll see like Verina's has like 4 stopping points. So like she can use that skill as long as it gets up to one of those 4 meters there. Other characters like Genshin here has to have a full meter to use it. But all of those skills act very differently. And something I actually was kind of starting to dislike about Genshin was, I know what's unique about it, or what they push, is all of the elemental combinations and the elemental reactions. I kind of wasn't a fan of that because I felt like it always limited my team comp. I had to always think about how were the elements interacting. Do I have enough reactions? Things like that. Whereas this game, there's no like elemental reaction. Like, characters have elements, and there's like weakness, strengths, and there's element weaknesses and all of that in this game. So you'll want to build your team based on that. So like, if I'm going into a hard boss, I could build a full mono element team that's all strong against the boss, and I don't have to worry about that. There's like a reaction happening between the elements, right? This game also has a team size of 3 instead of 4, which I think for simplicity, I kind of like that. And it also means I will have to summon for less characters to build enough teams to do content. So I like that as well, and it just keeps me more focused on like certain characters. Like in Genshin, you typically have to rely on constantly swapping characters to get reactions, and you're constantly just going from like ultimate to ultimate to ultimate. Whereas in this game, I feel like I can sit out with the character for a while and just do attacks and combo with that character and complete fights with one character. I don't feel like I have to constantly switch out. I think switching out in this game is encouraged by doing the intros and outro abilities. But like here, Yinlin, I could just rock her for a while, and like I don't have to be switching constantly, right? When I do really hard fights, though, you are going to want to switch to like heal and things like that, but I just don't feel like it's as necessary. So there's like that's like an example of like her normal skill. Sorry, I pressed that by mistake. I'm not as good as fighting on my phone, just so you know if my fighting looks a little clunky here. But she's got that middle skill built up. So for her, for example, she clicks and holds the normal attack button, and she does like that big AoE attack. So that's what she does with that middle skill, right? Now here, Genshin, who's a very different character, you got to see like the slow-mo dodging, which I think is really cool there. But like with hers, I also hold, and she does this where I just keep holding it, and she's actually like dealing damage while giving my whole party shields, which I love that. I think that's very cool. Whereas Verina's is different, where Verina's skill in there actually does like healing to the party, right? So the characters all fight and battle differently with different button combinations. I will say this game, just like Genshin, feels a lot better to play on controller rather than phone. But I have been able to play this game on phone when I've needed to, just to use up like my points and stuff. Which, by the way, I can do that. Just like Genshin, you've got weekly bosses, you've got domains where you're trying to earn character upgrade materials, right? So for like Verina, for example, I need to beat this morning Alex up a bit more. So I'll go ahead. I have some stamina to use. So let's go ahead and do a boss battle here. And you guys can kind of see what that looks like. So we'll just hop over this way. I've got my floating here. And we'll just hop in. But yeah, I mean, just some of those small things, like not having to pick up drops from enemies, I like really like that. Being able to always dash and being able to do the really fast wall running, I think is really good. So let's go ahead and let's fight this boss in here. So we'll start by maybe trying to build up some shields. So we'll use this as her ultimate. So this is what the ultimates look like, or an example of one, right? I can use my echo attack, which I turn into the monster, do a big attack. I can do that. And you can see I'm trying to, just by attacking and playing, there's a dodge right there. You can see how, like, it's just, I don't know, I just love the feel of the battle in this game. So now, by attacking, I build up that middle meter. Now I've built that up, so now I can do my ability to get my shields. And then now I'm going to switch into my main attacker here. Get the big intro, outro ability, do her ultimate there. Lay down some damage. I can use her skill. And then bam, just like that, boss is dead. And hey, I got another echo on the boss. So once again, you can see how easily, oh, and that's a 5-star. Well, I guess in this game it's a 4-star, but it's the gold, right? That's the highest rarity. So I got the highest rarity of a Morning Alex. That's really good. And I didn't have to use stamina. Now, what you do have to use stamina, this is just like Genshin. You have to use stamina to get the boss rewards, right? Which I need. But I had that to use. The other thing is the bosses respawn in here pretty quick. Like if I just sit here, even if I'm like in menus, that boss will respawn fairly quick if I just want to grind the boss. I'm just going to go ahead and move somewhere so the boss doesn't attack me. The other thing that Genshin has never done is they've never given you more resin. In this game, I don't remember what it's called in here, but their resin equivalent, you get 240 right off the bat, right? Which is really, really nice. Actually, is this? Oh, that's Tower of Adversity. Yeah. So they do have like the Tower of Adversity. That's like the equivalent of Abyss. So this game does have like solid end game content you can do. Once again, the game is very early in its life, so we have yet to see what kind of events and things will come out. But there's been a few fun things. There's been definitely a lot to do because being a brand new game, there's a lot to clear, a lot to explore. So very good that. But yeah, just having more stamina, I think, right out of the gate, which Genshin to this day hasn't gone above 180. Which people are furious about because Star Rail's already at 240. Star Rail has like the extra bank that you can store an extra 240. Like Star Rail's killing it on that, right? But in terms of if you're someone that's more of like a Genshin player or like the action games, and you're maybe like kind of frustrated with Genshin or got tired of it, I would encourage you to try Wuthering Waves because I think this game is actually quite good and I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to think just off the cuff here if there was anything else I wanted to kind of showcase on this game. Other than obviously you can look around, there's going to be like domains, boss battles, you know, all that is really like such a parallel. You can warp around, you have the towers just like you would in Genshin. You know, a lot of that is just like a nice smooth mimic. A couple of things I'll say is I know Wuthering Waves has had a little bit of controversy early on with some things that had gone on. Honestly, I just kind of ignored that and wanted to play the game for what it is and just try it out. And just for the game as it is, my personal experience with it has been very good and I've really enjoyed it, right? I will say that like it does feel slightly less polished than Genshin. Like Genshin definitely feels like a lot smoother, a lot more clean. Like I have noticed a few kind of glitchy things. I think you might have noticed earlier when I was climbing, sometimes the characters clip funny and don't climb perfectly. But it's nothing to the point that's been like, oh, I hate the game, right? And like I said, I've like just really enjoyed playing it. So far, I have enjoyed the story. The voice acting has been very good. I think there's a couple characters where I was maybe slightly less impressed, but for the most part, feels pretty on par like with Genshin in terms of like story elements, character design. I mean, the character design's really top notch. Really good voice acting, pretty good environments, things like that. And once again, just keep in mind as you're looking at my screen, this is the phone one. When you play on PC, you get a lot better graphics and resolution and all that, so you're going to get better frame rate and all that. So just keep in mind it looks a lot better on PC. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap up the video there because everything else is just so similar, right? Like the summoning system, all that is pretty much the same. I guess I will talk about summons really quick. Let's go into convene. So a couple of things this game has done that's been really nice was early on, I got like a 5-star selector ticket where I could just pick any 5-star. So I got to pick Verena because she was like the best 5-star character you can get. And then they have another choice banner that you can summon on with like just your general summons. And that you can also select another character and you're guaranteed to get that character by the time you hit 80 summons. They also have a weapon banner where you can choose a starter weapon you want. When I get to rank 45, I'm going to be able to pick one for free. The thing that's kind of unique, I guess, that I could talk about here that I do kind of like is that for the weapon banners, they do have this material here. So like, okay, if we talk about like Genshin Star Rail, right? The standard summoning, here's your gold summon material that you summon with, right? And then you have like the generic banner and you summon with this. That's like the blue material. But this game has also added a weapon material. So you can sometimes earn these. And it gives you a thing that allows you to summon on the weapon banners without maybe using your actual currency if you don't want to. So the cool thing I like is like over time, I might build this up and just be able to summon for weapons for fun. So I kind of like that as well about the game. But fairly early on, I've been able to get quite a few 5-stars, some very, very good characters And the other thing is Genshin's pity's at 90. This game pity's at 80. I haven't read for sure, but I'm going to assume that it's 50-50 and then you get guaranteed. So far, that's kind of the way it's played out for me, because I think on this banner, I did hit one where I did not get the featured one, but the next one I did get it. So I think this one probably has the same thing. It's got the exact same thing where you get 3 4-star characters featured on the banner. But having the pity 10 summons earlier, I think that's kind of a bonus. I guess you could say this game's a little bit more generous than Genshin that way. So anyways, I think I'm rambling at this point. I think I hit on like the main key points I wanted to talk about. So just to kind of summarize, the things I'm really liking about this game over Genshin, I like how the stamina system works in terms of like running, and that running doesn't use stamina. You can wall run, which is insane for traveling around. And I think the battle just feels a lot more unique between the characters, because on a game like Genshin, like all the characters feel very similar to play, right? Like if I play any sword user, like obviously a bow user is going to feel different than a sword user, but like to me, all the bow characters feel somewhat similar. All the sword users feel somewhat similar. It's all about just put the elements on, press your E's, press your ultimates, and you just cycle through characters. And Genshin to me has gotten kind of stale that way. Whereas with this game, characters are more combo based. I can sit and hit specific button combinations and do longer combos and play with the characters a little bit more, rather than feel like I'm constantly just switching out for reactions. And so I kind of like that a lot better. So if that kind of sounds good to you, this might be a game you want to try out. Let me know if you've tried Wuthering Waves, if you like it or not, if you agree or disagree with any of my comments. I don't know that I'm going to cover this game any more on the channel or a lot more extensively. Maybe here or there I might throw a summon video down, but I just wanted to put this out because I'm having a lot of fun with the game. Wanted to talk about why I like the game and kind of want to get your thoughts. Let me know, are you guys liking this game or not? How do you think it compares to Genshin? Do you feel like you're maybe too invested in Genshin to move on to this game? That could be another thing that might deter people, but from what I can tell, the game is doing very well early on, so we'll kind of see as it moves forward how well this game does. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch y'all on the next one.